Bruins Beat is brought to you by FanDuel, the exclusive wagering partner of the CLNS Media Network.
And we're here with Conor Ryan, presented by FanDuel. Conor, what is up?
Evan, I'm doing well. How you doing?
Doing great. I just got finished creating some of my March Madness brackets, which it is that time of year, the March Madness brackets. Pretty incredible stuff. I think I produced 2 perfect brackets. No chance any of them were wrong.
Humble brag.
Huge humble brag. Have you done yours yet?
No, I've not done it yet, but what I do every single year is I pick Kansas to win it all. It has not worked out for most of the last decade. I've been ridiculed. I've been mocked. Worked out last year. So I know it's absolutely going to work out once again in the year of our Lord 2023. So really excited to have this work out in my favor once again.
Picking the champion again. Incredible stuff. Really.
Bold move.
I think Alabama might be the team. I'll be honest, Conor, in my job last year, I watched so much college basketball. For the first time in my life, I felt confident when I was doing my bracket. I was like, oh, I've watched a team a bunch of times. They're great. This year, I've maybe watched parts of 3 college basketball games. So I cannot sit here and claim expertise on any of the games, the teams. I just look at strength of schedule, record against top 25, and close my eyes and see where my finger lands on the screen. That is honestly really what it comes down to.
That's a better strategy. You got people who look at they have 48 tabs open to all these different websites, doing bracketology. Just pick. Just pick a team. Just pick a team. It's a
50-50 chance, right? That's it. Even harder to do is the NHL playoff brackets. Those are very difficult to do. I remember doing those back on NHL.com back in the day, thinking, I'm an expert. I'm going to get all these right. But they made you pick how many games, little different things that make it all more difficult. But anyways, I know people are fuming that we started this podcast off talking about college basketball, but it's a big thing. It's March Madness.
It's March Madness, guys.
Everyone gets into it.
Relax.
Everyone gets into March Madness. It's a fun time of year. We know FanDuel is going to have a lot on March Madness, so make sure to go use our promo code Boston over there. Bruins on a little bit of a downturn, which for them is not much at all. Bruins lost 2 of 3. Again, they almost close call against Detroit on Saturday at home. Went to Detroit, tough one, down 4-0. Came back, made it a game. Good for them. But they're on a road trip. They got Chicago, Winnipeg, Minnesota, Buffalo. Quite the road trip of exotic cities coming up.
That's not one that you see the start of the year and you're like, I gotta get a ticket to this one. It's not really a murderer's row, but
family trip to Winnipeg to watch the Bruins play them on a Thursday. But is it time to worry, Conor? Should people be worried?
No, not really. No. Again, it's something where I think when this team has a little bit of a downturn, or they had that stretch where they lost 3 in a row, granted it was to Florida, Tampa, and Carolina. Again, I think when this team has had so few things go wrong for them, it tends to exaggerate a little bit when there is a little bit of a lull in terms of, long-term issues or something that could really ruin this team's cup run. And again, there are concerning trends, right? You look at Bruins really did not have their legs for the first 40 minutes of that game on Sunday. I think probably the most concerning trend, if you want to focus in on, is the power play continues to just not have it. And that's something that I think does need to be addressed. And I think maybe the concern for some Bruins fans in terms of this little lull they're in is the fact that we are a month away from the postseason. Again, still a month. We have 17 games to go. It's not like this team is limping into the playoffs or anything like that. So I wouldn't really hit the button to go to DEFCON 1. We're not hitting the sirens in terms of a full-blown panic. Again, it's a long season. There are concerning trends that pop up for every team. They have to get sorted out. And it's something where I think you look at that power play, right? It's something where I think the biggest issue right now is just not enough movement with the puck. You look at the Pastrnak turnover led to that shorthanded goal by Seider. It's, a brutal turnover on Pasternak's part, of course, right? But I think it's also shows a lack of movement up there where he's at the offensive blue line, really is not doing much, and it leads to an easy turnover. This Bruins team, that power play, you look at that personnel. Yes, they have Pastrnak, they have Bergeron, they have all these guys, but a lot of those chances usually come from the byproduct of a lot of puck movement, of stretching a PK out thin, finding that grid A ice. So far, you're just seeing not enough movement, a lot of stagnant play. And again, those 1 or 2 seconds of holding on to the puck a little bit more gives an opposing PK all the time it needs to reset, to pressure the puck area, to collapse in around the net. All those things that just make it that much tougher for a power play to connect. So I'd say that's probably the most concerning trend right now. But again, got 17 games to go. You got a little bit more time. I don't think there's anything that's like, all right, we're going to the playoffs with an obvious flaw. Like, there's time to sort this thing out. And you look at the Bruins power play, it's not like they're going to overhaul the entire personnel, nor are they going to, tear it all down, go, start from scratch with 17 games left. Like, they have the pieces in place. They have the system. It's just, I think, an emphasis on more puck movement, more assertive play. And hopefully that helps them kind of break out of this extended slump they've been in.
They'll be fine. In other avenues, I would not worry. Again, it's on the road, but Chicago is not an amazing team. They're favored in every game. They should be, at least. You have to think maybe there's a loss sprinkled in there, but this doesn't scare me too much. And I know you mentioned the playoffs are coming. I know some, as you said, are going to think, oh, this is it. This is the slump hitting. It's going to extend into the postseason and they're going to be screwed. And again, as you said, there's still 17 games left. I don't think it's time to hit the panic button. Now, again, if they go on the road here and lose all 4 games, or they finish out their road trip and lose all 4 games, then we'll be singing a different tune in this episode next week. But I don't think that's going to happen. You do mention the power play, though, and you're right. It's very stationary right now. Not a lot of movement. And again, as we all know with power plays, the whole point is to find an open passing lane into high danger ice. They're not doing enough of that. The Pastrnak turnover was not good. Put himself in a weird spot too. Like, went right to the blue line, up against the boards, puck out towards center ice, no one behind him. Just like, really not a recipe for success there. But I don't think it's anything to really worry about. And I know there are going to be lots of people all over Twitter, sports radio, whatever, kind of sounding the alarm. I really don't think it is, because again, when it comes to the power play, Connor, they have the personnel. Like, that power play has worked before with those guys. You have so many guys there. It just comes down to finding that the right assortment and kind of clicking at the right time. Now, maybe, the power play goes off against a team like Chicago and builds its confidence back up. I know you wrote about Orlov recently being up at the top of the key, kind of running power play there. Do you think that a guy like Orlov, or like, who do you favor out of Orlov, Lindholm, McAvoy, Krejci, even being at the top of that power play?
Yeah, I think they have to stick with at least a defenseman up there. As I think tempting as it is to have a guy like Krejci and have 5 forwards, you open the door to more shorthanded goals, which, if your team's already in a bit of a slump on the power play, nothing more demoralizing than giving up some shorthanded goals on top of it. Like, if the Bruins went...
Well, remember that game a few weeks ago when they were 5-on-3 against the Oilers, and they put out the 5 forwards at the end of the game, and the Oilers had Nick David Draisaitl?
That didn't work. Yeah, exactly. like, if your team's already in a bit of a lull, it's almost better to not, compound that by having like a shorthanded goal against or something like that. So I don't see them going to the 5 forward. I think it's just about finding that right guy up top. So Orlov, it hasn't really lent itself to actual production yet. I've still given him a couple more games, because during the last few times it's been either disjointed or the second unit's been getting a little bit more looks or what have you. So I give him a little bit more of a look moving forward, just because I think he adds a different dynamic with that shot. I think it's one thing that, yes, you look at teams, how they approach the Bruins power play in terms of negating it. It's usually packing it in the slot, preventing the puck from getting to the bumper or getting through that seam pass to Pastrnak. So it's a pretty tried and true avenue in terms of, all right, they're going to have a lot of puck possession. They're going to have a lot of room to work with up high. But if we take away Bergeron and Pastrnak, it makes it that much tougher for them to score. Having a guy like Orlov who can bomb the puck from up high at least gives you a different dynamic in that spot, right? Whether it's, again, a puck getting through and into the back of the net, obviously, but you look at his shot, Orlov, it seems like he has a pretty good knack for at least finding in and around the net. So if it leads to a tip or a rebound for a guy like DeBrusk, or even a puck that gets past kind of that body of skaters to the net front guy like DeBrusk who can recover, and it leads to that kind of, the power play is all about, I think, about creating chaos. Like, it's controlled chaos if you're a team like the Bruins in terms of how they're able to kind of capitalize against teams. So I'd be curious to see how a guy like Orlov does if they give him a little bit more reps in that regard. And if not him, again, we know what McAvoy can do there, but I wouldn't be surprised if they also take a look at Lindholm again, who, again, it's kind of like the jack of all trades. Like, doesn't have a shot like Orlov, but can move the puck really well. Great lateral skater as well. I wouldn't be surprised if he gets a look, because you look at probably when the Bruins power play was at its best early on in the year. It's probably when Lindholm was the guy running the thing up high. So I would not
When
be surprised.
McAvoy
Again,
was injured.
exactly. Like you've got, again, it's what we talked about in terms of the Bruins' ongoing search to find these 6 defensemen. It's a good problem to have in terms of like, oh, all right, I guess Orlov's not working. Let's go to Lindholm. Like it's, and again, if that doesn't work, screw it. Like Matt Grzelcyk, who also is a good puck mover as well. Like they have plenty of guys that fit the mold in terms of who you want to be up at the blue line running that power play. Just, I think, finding the right fit and taking it from there.
And you also mentioned teams taking away Bergeron and Pasternak, or whoever's in the right shot for the one-timer. And it also comes down to, who's going to be in the net, the net front guy. DeBrusk has almost made a living doing that in his career so far. How is Marchand? Can Marchand convert from that, bottom right corner of the zone? Can whoever's at the top of the point get shots through and get them potentially tipped? So, I mean, again, I think, as we said, there's time left in the season for this to be an issue, or for them to sort this out. Also, again, I hate when I don't love when people do like oh my God, this is just like 2011 vibes, but the 2011 power play wasn't great. Now, again, different era of hockey. Yeah. Different time.
It does feel like a different era. Like it is something where it's only been, a little over a decade, but very different the way the game I think is played now. But I'm sorry, I interrupted.
No, you're right. And that's what I mean. And so I think now, there is a little bit more reliance on the power play, but they are getting better 5-on-5 scoring. They play a lot faster. So the power play isn't as dire, but it is tough watching them get power play after power play and just not convert. Krejci, though, the other night against Edmonton did have a power play goal, but it was nixed off the board because of an offsides like 30 seconds before.
30 seconds before, yeah.
Which is incredible.
Love that rule.
Yeah, terrific rule. But, I mean, there is time. I do believe there's time with this power play because, again, I don't think it's a huge issue. And, again, you don't have to, it's not like you have to run Thomas Caberlet out there to run your power play. You got Orlov, you got Lindholm, you got McAvoy. Really good bets at being solid at the top of the power play. But Conor, we have an exclusive wagering partner in FanDuel. FanDuel, Massachusetts, listen up. The wait is finally over. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, is now live in Massachusetts. And new customers in Massachusetts can get in on the action with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. Just sign up. Just $5. Just $5. Just sign up at FanDuel.com/Boston. Finally, you can bet on all your favorite sports, from the money line to point spreads to player props and more. Want to bet on the over-under of David Pastrnak goals this season, which is set at 57.5 right now? How about betting on the Hart Trophy winner, where David Pastrnak has the second best odds at plus 3,100? Or the Vezina, where Linus Ullmark has the best odds, the best, at minus 700. I must say also, Conor, the Norris Trophy odds, especially interesting. I think a lot of people, the person who's the favorite, I think people are going to disagree with. And some of the ones with, not as great odds, safe picks for potentially winning the Norris. It's very, very up in the air. So make sure to go check those out. So bet now on an app that's safe, secure, and super easy to use. I promise you, this is a very easy app to use. Don't miss your chance to get $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. Visit FanDuel.com/Boston and make every moment more on America's #1 sportsbook. 21 plus and present in Mass. First online real money wager only. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets that expires in 14 days. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Hope is here. Gamblinghelplinema.org or call 800-327-5050 for 24/7 support. Heck of a weekend with all the FanDuel stuff. It's incredible what's going on, and we're so excited to have them with us. Jim Montgomery, playing with his lines a lot. Different guys in different places. It's that time of year. You have to figure out what you have. And that is, I think, what he's trying to do. You saw Pavel Zacha down with Charlie Coyle for a bit. You saw Bertuzzi up with David Krejci on the second line. You saw Tyler Bertuzzi up with Bergeron Marchand on the first line in Sunday's game. You saw Jake DeBrusk move down lines. Feels like those are the three players, all left shot. Feels like those are the three that will move the most. Now, again, if the Bruins are down in a playoff game and they're down a goal or two or they need some offense, yeah, you're going to put Marchand, Bergeron, Pastrnak back together. But for trying to figure things out with the lines, I think we've all gotten very stable with Marchand, Bergeron, DeBrusk, and Zacha, Krejci, Pastrnak, Bertuzzi, Coyle, Frederick. But it's not a bad idea to switch things up, see what you got.
Yeah, exactly. I think when you look, especially, there's so many other moving parts too that you look at, like Taylor Hall, which we talked about before, in terms of when he's coming back. If it's before the regular season ends, then you have to figure out where he best fits. Is it Coyle, Hall, Bertuzzi, which that's a pretty scary third line. Like, at this point, you still, I think, have to find out where a guy like Bertuzzi best fits. It is tough, though, because you look at it, right? And like, as you said, the Bruins have a playoff spot locked up. They should win the Atlantic Division. Like, they are still, I think, 11 points clear of Carolina and New Jersey. Like, they're going well right now. They have the leeway to experiment with those lines. But it is funny how against Detroit on Sunday, Montgomery kind of switches things up, and then who ends up kind of scoring a lot of their goals or producing a lot of their goals is some of the same tried and true guys. Like DeBrusk gets bumped down, gets put back up with Bergeron and Marchand, and scores that goal. It scores a goal again off that same move that he always does. The teams will always fall for every single time. It's like Chris Wagner. It's like Chris Wagner going 5-hole. It's like the same move every time, and it always works.
I understand that goalies are locked in the moment, but I'm surprised, like on a breakaway or in a shootout, the goalie's not like, all right, Jake DeBrusk loves flipping it blocker side. Let me make sure that's all stable. I know it was a breakaway and it's fast, but I'm surprised Ville Husso and other goalies haven't picked up on that.
Yeah. So again, DeBrusk gets back up to that spot after getting bumped down a little bit and responds, which is good to see. I think it's his first goal in 8 games. And again, a little bit of a lull for him, but all in considered, I think it's safe to assume that line is going to stay together for most of the postseason. Bertuzzi hasn't really produced maybe in terms of tangible goals yet, but I still like the chances he's generating with Coyle. Got a few looks, Bertuzzi with Krejci's line, but again, they go back to Zacha, Krejci, Pastrnak, and they account for 2 5-on-5 goals, right? Like it's one of those things where, yeah, Montgomery has the leeway, but you look at the top 6 that those lines they've rolled with for most of the last couple of months, works out pretty well. It's just all about finding, I think, Bertuzzi and getting him going, which again, it seems like it will be with Coyle, especially if Hall comes back. But until then, it's kind of an ongoing kind of situation of just figure out where to best maximize Bertuzzi's talents. Because you could see it, like the way he reads the ice. A few of his passes have been really good in terms of setting up some grade A looks. Just hasn't really been there yet. But again, maybe you put Bertuzzi up a little bit higher for a couple of games and get him going offensively if he's with someone like Bergeron or Krejci. But you don't want it to be maybe a permanent thing, just because I think you've seen what that top 6 has done already this year.
Really thought Bertuzzi was going to get his first goals against his former team. I really thought that was what's going to be. But I mean, again, you mentioned it, like it just feels like he's doing the right things, just isn't producing. And again, that's fine. You know, I think people expect deadline acquisitions to walk right in and meet, like Dmitry Orlov, right? Orlov walks in, wins first star of the week. That doesn't happen typically. There is a period where guys were adjusting to their new team. And Tyler Bertuzzi is adjusting. Give it some time. As you said, 17 games left. At some point, he's going to produce. You go back to 2019, right? Johansson was not producing a ton during the regular season, if memory serves. I don't even know if Coyle was. But then in the playoffs, it turned it on. So again, guy like Bertuzzi has the tools, plays that way. He does. It's funny, like the way DeBrusk plays, Bertuzzi does kind of make sense with Bergeron and Marchand. But again, DeBrusk is there. DeBrusk has not typically worked on the third line full time with Coyle. So again, to me, I think, Bertuzzi makes sense up on that first line, but DeBrusk has just worked well and has fit alongside them for such a longer period of time so well. And then that second line, Zacha, Krejci, Pastrnak, that's hard to break that one up. That continues to work.
Yeah, you're getting with that line. And again, they are the line that trades chances a little bit more. But again, it's almost the same with like Pastrnak, where again, brutal turnover. Not great on that shorthanded goal. We know that. We can accept that, but you take it based on what you're going to get down the other end of the ice, which more likely than not is going to be a lot more goals in the Bruins' favor, right? So again, I think even if that Krejci, Pastrnak, Zacha line does play a little bit more loosey-goosey style, a lot of that risk-taking and gambling is going to lead to a lot more goals for the Bruins.
Loosey-goosey, the loosey-goosey style. Yeah, such a great analogy. But yes, before we continue the conversation, we have a new sponsor, Conor. This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. Hockey is widely considered to be a macho, tough sport full of people playing through every kind of injury. But the reality is that everyone is human, and getting help for your mental health is always a good thing and something I'm a firm believer in. Therapy is a powerful way to become in touch with your emotions and become the best version of yourself. Why wouldn't you want to be the best version of you? It's all about deepening your self-awareness and understanding, because sometimes we don't know what we want or why we react the way we do until we talk through things. If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist and switch therapists anytime for no additional charge. Visit BetterHelp.com/Bruins today to get 10% off your first month. Again, BetterHelp.com/Bruins to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/Bruins. So, Connor, I don't know if you noticed, but the Bruins are in the playoffs. They have clinched. They are in. First round tickets went on sale. And oh boy, the resale market. Ugh. 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 Really bad. Really bad. And you look at, Ty Anderson tweeted out the pictures of the prices for balcony seats in the first round. It's exorbitant. And Ty Anderson, credit to him, texted both of us and said, I think it might actually be cheaper for some fans to go to the away team and travel than it will be to go to some of these games. And the Bruins don't have control over the what it sells for on some of the secondary ticket apps. But this is going to be tough. I think for a lot of just normal people, they're going to look at those ticket prices and go, hell no. Right?
Yeah. And again, it is a statement on capitalism. No, we're not getting into the economic.
No. We're not doing that.
But no, as you said, it is. It'll be curious to see how the dynamics are for the playoffs, because let's face it, this is not like an indictment on Bruins fans and as people who are diehard fans who be going to these games and are season ticket holders that would give up everything to go support the team in person. That's not a statement on them. But
God bless those people.
But when you look at, Ty even mentioned this before, like the further you got into the playoffs of 2019, like the more expensive the tickets were, the more you have it's almost like when they said like Yankee Stadium, right? Like old Yankee Stadium, it was so much louder and raucous compared to like the new like bougie Yankee Stadium. Like you do hope that it doesn't get a situation where ticket prices go up, the more casual fans go in, and it doesn't have remotely the same on ice, home advantage for the Bruins. I mean, we've, I think, both seen it, especially in some of those first round matchups against Toronto over the years, like how loud that building can be. So again, it's not much you can do if you're the Bruins in terms of just what the resale value are on these tickets. But yeah, it is something that is worth monitoring over, like if this team goes deep, like just how it impacts the crowd level and stuff like that. Because there's a lot more loud, raucous, dedicated Bruins fans who are probably going to be in the outside looking in at the Garden for a few of those playoff games, which is a shame.
Which is unfortunate. And again, I mean, I remember, and you remember this well too, in 2019, they had that, the scrimmage, the inter-squad scrimmage, because they had that long break in between the Eastern Conference Final and the Cup. And I think they let fans in for like $5 or $10. It was not, I mean, it was
loud as hell,
affordable as hell. Inter-squad scrimmage, that place was A, sold out, B, loud as anything. I mean, just crazy loud. And rivaled any Stanley Cup game and any game from that playoff run. So hopefully hopefully some fans can find their way, some diehards or whatever can find their way. And again, there are going to be people who see the resale value on these and say, I don't care. And they're just going to pay it. And good for you. I mean, I'm not like, this is not telling you what to do. But the prices are insane. But I mean, this kind of goes back to, this is a team that people think is going to be the team. Like, this is the team with the run. This could be potentially Bergeron's last dance, Krejci's. People want to see the band still together. So again, it makes sense, I guess, why they're going as high as they are. Hopefully they go down a bit. It's like when Taylor Swift tickets came out and they were like, selling for so much. One of my, I was fortunate to get a couple, and people were like, you got to resell those and make a ton off of them. I'm like, no, I'm with people who actually want to go to.
Yeah, bringing my Swiftie squad.
Yeah, bringing the Swiftie squad. By the way, this makes me think ahead. That is, I think, in late May. Is
well,
damn right.
At least he's not at the Garden. It's messing up like the Bruins playoff schedule. Don't forget when Cher caused a ruckus.
Ooh, how could we
Don't
forget
them. Yes, of course.
Bruce Cassidy wasn't there watching that.
Do you believe the Bruins had 4 days off in between home games because of Cher? So again, we'll see what happens. You get into the summer months, that scheduling can get a little wonky. And don't forget also, Celtics are also going on a run. So
that too.
The ice is going to be, the picture of Jimmy Butler where he's like exhausted like that. That's going to be the Bruins ice. It's going to be the ice at the Garden if they get into June.
That ice, it's going to be fogging up the glass. Ooh, that's going to be tough. I'm only thinking this Sunday actually is the MIAA state tournament. It's all day, games from 9 a.m. until 7:30 at night. I will be there for, I believe, every single game, which is wild. But the ice by the end of it should be quite interesting. Interesting down there. By the way, speaking of the Celtics and Bruins, there's a mass super boost bet on FanDuel you can make to bet both if one wins both. So go do that. Again, this episode brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. Conor, before you go, what can people look forward to from you over at Boston.com?
Yeah, we're going to have you covered every step of the way this Bruins season with game recaps, columns, features, breakdowns, all that stuff throughout this Bruins season. So please read our stuff over at Boston.com. Of course, we have you covered on everything that's happening in Boston sports, whether that's Patriots, free agency, Red Sox, Celtics, everything. So please go over there and read everything we have over at Boston.com. And if you want to follow me on Twitter, you can at ConorRyan_93.
Go do all that. Make sure to subscribe to New England Hockey Journal. That is Conor Ryan. I'm Evan Marinofsky. You Bruins Beat listeners, have a great rest of your week.